Janey. I am presenting from the unceded lands of the Whadjuk Noongar people. This always was and always will be Aboriginal land, and I pay my respects to Aboriginal elders, past, present, and emerging. So conceptually, my PhD research centres around investigating moments of gender remix within idol fan communities. Essentially, I'm looking at how fan involvement meets digital technology and what that can mean for gender, or moving beyond what we think of gender now. And by remix, I refer to the process of reworking and adapting existing narratives to inscribe new meaning. I aim to question whether remixing narratives associated with male pop idols has sociocultural and political potentials to disrupt heteropatriarchal society by creating new ways for fans to really perform and embody gender and also fandom. So I incorporate Chu Young-oh and David Seo's work on unmasking queerness in Korean pop music, or K-pop, to comprehend if, through processes of narrative remix, fans may create new ways of looking, acting upon, or reframing previously held beliefs. Now, whether my research position becomes a reparative or a paranoid reading remains to be seen at this point, although I am very hopeful for the former. Today, I'd like to present an overview of my research, as well as one of the topics that I'll be planning to explore within the body of my final project. And that's an examination of how aesthetics and narratives pertaining to Jung Kook's performances of gender, so both real and interpreted, are remixed by fans on the short video app TikTok. And I will discuss this content relating to Jung Kook, gender envy, and the editing process of creating these kind of Jung Kook gender envy videos that are pretty common on TikTok. So my presentation utilizes Hiroki Izuma's theory of database consumption to detail how these elements and characteristics associated with Jung Kook, shared via official and fan-made content, inscribe layers of meaning for fans. But first, I would like to begin this presentation by providing you with some background information on the ways that gender has been performed within K-pop. And this leads back to Tom's first presentation this morning. And I'd like to provide a little bit of background on JK, or Jung Kook, and then to kind of detail how my project is starting to come together through the integration of Izuma's database consumption. And also, just to note there, at this stage, I have more questions than answers. Okay, so within the K-pop industry, male performers known as idols have long been credited for displaying a more fluid spectrum of gender performance, challenging hegemonic constructs of masculinities. If we take a step back in time to examine the K-pop industry during the early to mid-2000s, we see that male idols crafted new prototypes of gender, displaying everything from the delicate flower boy aesthetics through to that more overt, hyper-masculine beast idol that Tom was referring to before. Male idols were quite known to kind of hybridize these public performances of masculinities, transitioning between flower boy and beast, depending on the song, the music video, or their live appearance. And then came BTS. So right from their professional debut back in 2013, and right back to the beginning of their career, BTS have really disrupted many of these expectations that have been set around how male idols should perform their masculinities. From the time of their debut, the group made an obvious effort to showcase their true selves, sharing hardships and successes, and kind of reinforcing these concepts of authenticity that were emerging parallel at the time with the rise of social media and influencer cultures. BTS were at the forefront of utilizing social media platforms, including YouTube, to communicate directly to their fans. The authenticity displayed by BTS has been referred to as a form of emancipatory masculinity, and the group has been credited as K-pop's most successful case of female-friendly masculinity. And as groundbreaking as these descriptions are, they do tend to paint BTS as this kind of homogenous group and focus on the collective rather than analysing how the interpersonal dynamics between the 7 members, and particularly the found family aspects of BTS, significantly contribute to fans' interpretations of the performances of gender that are happening within this group. So, as I mentioned just before, there are 7 members of BTS, and like all of us, each one of them expresses their identity in individual ways. As Oliver suggests in his 2020 analysis of the consumption of merchandise within the K-pop fan communities, BTS consists of 7 people, each with their own hopes and desires. And getting to know the individual personalities and the interpersonal relationships between the group members is really like such a large process of becoming a member of the BTS fan community, which, as we probably all know, is colloquially referred to as ARMY. So who is Jung Kook? Well, Jung Kook is the youngest member of BTS, and he was 15 years old at the time of their debut. Despite his age, he was positioned as the lead vocalist, a sub-rapper, one of the main dancers, and centre of much group choreography. And despite being so heavily in the spotlight, prevailing narratives for this time kind of posit teenage Jung Kook as really introverted, shy about his body, and highly, highly emotional. And Jung Kook really gives credit to his older group members for helping him become the person he is today. In the 2017 documentary Burn the Stage, he states, "The guys filled me in one by one, and I think maybe that's how I became what I am now. I could be a manifestation of all of their characters coming together." Physically, Jung Kook is described by Chu Young-oh as exemplifying the perfect dancer's body. In her analysis of gendered performance within K-pop dance, Oh details Jung Kook's body as not too lean and not too large. And when addressing his own physicality, Jung Kook regularly details struggles to maintain his weight. He often shares with ARMY a want to diet while simultaneously addressing an inability to control his eating habits. And I suggest that this dichotomy is predominantly associated with observations from the female experience. On stage and in music videos, Jung Kook's costumes are designed to highlight his figure, wearing midriff-bearing or otherwise waist-defining clothing. Off stage, however, he is very well known for wearing significantly oversized gender-neutral clothing, which disrupts many constructs between the physical body and gendered appearance. So it's this interplay between the emotional and the physical, and the ways that he expresses his masculine, feminine, and kind of everything in between selves, something that one of my research informants has coined Jung Kook gender. It sends a really powerful message to ARMY, particularly members of the gender fluid, NB, and trans communities. Through the ways that he performs gender, Jung Kook problematizes gender norms and becomes a space of possibility, showing members of ARMY that it's possible to live in the spaces in between, to overcome hardships, and maybe most importantly, to find a family who will advocate for you. So within K-pop, the music industry places a high amount of value on developing meaningful relationships between an idol and their fan communities. And this predominantly occurs via the incorporation of visual communication practices. Visual elements such as concept photos, videos, and choreography are all utilized to reinforce the ways that we develop effective relationships with these idols. Each visual element, from their choice of hair color, their clothing, the ways that they move or pose in photographs, is chosen to communicate a central ethos or a certain characteristic about the idol directly to their fans. And this fosters a really deep sense of connection. Which leads me to my next point, which is about database consumption. So Japanese philosopher Hiroki Izuma uses the term database consumption to describe how an object of fandom's physical characteristics, the elements of their personality or personal stories, form a database of information that can then become remixed within fan communities. BTS create connections with their fans via visual elements and really relatable stories. Through effective relationships with BTS, fans are engendered to create a database of knowledge that encourages practices of remix. Each piece of information added to the database adds a new layer of meaning and affect, altering the ways that others then interpret and can emotionally respond to the idols. Now, according to Azuma, fans become database consumers, focusing on their methods of consumption, on elements within the database that trigger an effective response. So, for example, a fan who reads Jung Kook as powerful in his gender fluid clothing might be more inclined to purchase a similar item to feel a sense of Jung Kook's power for themselves. Within ARMY, elements of Jung Kook's characteristics and personality are developed, shared, and consumed in countless ways, from recreating his dance moves and uploading these to social media, reading or creating fan fiction that sees him play into certain character tropes, or through collecting ephemeral objects such as photo trading cards or soft toy plushies. The list is pretty much endless. Each event or ephemeral object kind of adds to this database and engenders further opportunities for interpretation and remix, repeating that cycle of consumption. And during 2 weeks of fieldwork in Seoul and Busan during October 2022, I spent hours attending BTS-themed events at cafes, visiting Jungkook murals, seeking out Jungkook posters in the Seoul metro system, buying and trading Jungkook-related products, talking to fellow ARMY, and attended a BTS concert, all while trying to comprehend how the Jungkook database might actually engender new ways of fans to perform and embody gender. And while my research is obviously still a work in progress, Azumi's concept of database consumption allows me to position fans remixing as forms of disruption that foster new ways of interpreting Jungkook and perhaps by extension then ourselves. So before I discuss gender envy TikTok, I want to very briefly provide some details, some background knowledge about the app. So TikTok was officially launched in China in October 2016. It did not become available to an international market until September 2017. And at the time of its launch, TikTok was, to put it simply, an app that was known for lip syncing. So users would lip sync to popular songs and audio memes and then post these videos on their timelines whilst interacting with other users by integrating trending sounds and hashtags. In 2018, TikTok merged with Musical.ly, changing the ways that users were able to interact with and on the app. And I draw now from communication scholars Diana Zulli and David Zulli, who suggest that the infrastructure of TikTok positions remix and replication as a way of forming like social groups on the app, creating a new form of imitation public. And it's the technical affordances of TikTok. So these were originally utilized for lip syncing that made it possible to kind of start getting used to being able to edit video on the app, incorporate sounds, add filters, green screens, and other kind of effects. So it's these technical affordances that have made TikTok such a powerful space for investigating the multi-layered implications of gender remix. As O notes, fans construct their personal identities through online activities, and TikTok adds a new layer of intimacy into this process. While gender envy content is found on every form of social media, it really thrives on TikTok due to the editing potentials of the app. Most content that one engages with on the app is via a For You page, and that is algorithmically tailored towards the individual user. A For You page can be molded by watching content all the way through, by skipping videos, or by searching for specific hashtags such as Jung Kook. So on TikTok, the hashtag Jung Kook has amassed over 159.6 billion views. And through interacting with this hashtag, users are exposed to a range of Jungkook related content that contributes to their existing database of knowledge. So content such as dance challenges, shipping videos, in which he is paired with another member of BTS to kind of assess their romantic or platonic relationship. And then fan cams, which are videos taken by ARMY during live concerts that focus closely on the movements of his face or body. These all strengthen those effective relationships. Depending on a TikTok user's with topics such as race, sexuality, and gender. So if, for example, a user has been interacting with Jung Kook content while also searching for topics such as gender identity or gender presentation, this is really going to affect what is seen on their For You page. An article published by the Gay Times in October 2020 details how TikTok functions as a space for education and self-discovery, helping to reclaim the queer experience online. Users form intimate bubbles of connection through the content that they kind of interact with and the micro communities that flourish in these spaces. And particularly they're found in the comment sections of these videos. So I now want to take you through one specific form of Jung Kook related content that operates as a safe space for sociality, self-discovery and self-expression on the app. And this relates to the topic of Jung Kook gender envy. So according to PFLAG, an organisation advocating for the rights of LGBTQIA+ communities, gender envy is a casual term that is primarily used by transgender people to describe an individual they aspire to be like. By PFLAG's definition, gender envy is not limited to transgender and non-binary people. It can be felt by cisgender people who may express their gender in more masculine or feminine ways rather than what is expected of them. The term gender envy became a trending topic on TikTok in 2021, and the topic is still regularly interacted with on the app. As of this week, the gender envy hashtag has accumulated more than 252.9 million views. And much of this content involves around the common theme, which is a creator asking, do I want to be him, or am I simping? Or, do I want to be with him? Am I simping? Or do I want to be him? I ruined my punchline. In gender envy content, creators share their gender awakenings via the creation of videos that combine visual and audio elements from a range of fictional characters or real people, anyone or anything with an energy that they wish to emulate. For members of ARMY, remixing Jung Kook to create gender envy content becomes a space to embody aspects of his database, such as his character traits, his personality, his skills, or his physical appearance. So now to the bit that makes this content thrive on TikTok is that with these TikTok Jung Kook gender envy videos, there's often like this self-insert element in which creators can edit themselves into footage of the idol, remixing their two physical bodies together to become one. In the most viewed Jung Kook gender envy video, the creator looks down toward the ground before lifting their head and actually morphing into Jung Kook. Now, in his discussion of K-pop cover dance in Thailand, DB Kang describes a similar process of effective bodily labour that's used by dancers who essentially train to recreate the moves and take on aspects of a particular idol. And Kang details the high levels of emotional attachment involved in replicating an idol, including the amount of prior knowledge or access to the database, and a commitment to fandom that goes into making this transformational process occur. And now that while this isn't exactly the same type of process that we're seeing on TikTok, there are distinct similarities. So Kang suggests that performing one's fandom through this form of bodily labour is a highly intimate practice involving a technical refashioning of the self. And to contextualize this process for TikTok, we should perhaps consider it to be a technological refashioning of the self. So utilizing Kang's scholarship, I suggest that it is through their commitment to fandom and the relatively straightforward process of being able to edit or remix footage, creators participate in emancipatory practices of gender, and that this interplay of bodies hints towards ways to creatively reimagine gendered performance. Now, during the time that I've spent interacting with Jung Kook gender envy video content on TikTok, I've been left with the following question, which is, oops, I missed that slide, sorry. Does the ability to edit and remix a user's physical body with Jung Kook's through the kind of technical affordances of TikTok hold a similar queering potential as the consumption of Your Name or YN fanfiction? I believe that it may, although I still need to analyse this content further. But YN fanfiction is a medium for fans to safely explore aspects of themselves, including their gender or aspects of self-identity. And as with the creation and consumption of fan fiction, by remixing the physical body with Jung Kook's, TikTok users can reconfigure sex, they can explore different dynamics and easily slip in and out of gender to learn more about their preferences and their desires. So remixing or consuming remixed visual and audio content engenders fans who may not have the right words to express their gender or to describe how their physical bodies feel or what their ideal physical body might be. By using the affordances of TikTok, they can effectively show rather than having to describe. And a lot of the people I've been speaking to have said that sometimes it's hard to put those feelings into words. So if you can edit it into a video, that can be extremely powerful. For AFAB, or assigned female at birth army, interacting with Jung Kook gender envy content on TikTok may also function as a safe space for exploring gender outside the lens of the patriarchy and the male gaze. Jung Kook gender envy content, I suggest, creates pathways for exploring femininity in a way that is inherently masculine. So by remixing the female body with Jung Kook's body, users can develop on the idea that for males, performing femininity is like an authentic choice rather than like a social, political, or cultural expectation. And yeah, that's it. That's all I've got so far. So thank you everyone for listening. I appreciate that was like a bombardment of information and I still have a lot to be unpacked, but I look forward to keeping you all up to date with my progress, and I'm sure we can talk about it more in the comments.